now to, if you want to help bring yourself up, you actually can invert that, right? So instead I'm inhaling for 6 seconds and exhaling for 4 seconds. So if I want to bring my heart rate up a little bit and I feel like beyond physically moving or warming up, maybe I'm sitting on the bus, I'm on the way to the fight and I feel like my heart rate's coming down a little bit lower than I want. I want to feel a little bit more pumped up in this moment. So I'm going to invert that and I'm going to breathe for 6 seconds in and then exhale 4 seconds out. Using that same principle we understand about HRV, heart rate variability, we can start to raise our heart rate higher than what our baseline was at, just chilling there sitting on the bus.
And this is definitely one that I feel like I'm pretty familiar with, because that's always been something that we've talked about for years. Is it's like, hey man, I'm nervous because I'm not up enough. I don't feel ready to go. I don't feel ready to engage in an actual altercation where we're hurting each other's bodies. So that's one that I'm really, really comfortable with. You know, the long breath in, the quick exhale. It's super efficient. It's super, super helpful.
It's really easy.
It's super easy. It's one of those ways. It's also a way that you can feel pretty in control of the way that you are too, which is always like a really nice feeling in such a chaotic environment. So those two types of breathing. What else do we have?
So we also have this idea of what we call grounding, right? Okay. So what grounding is, and it relates really well to to our breathing techniques, is grounding is simply a way for us to use either whether it's self-talk or an external stimulus to be able to bring us back to our present moment. This is something that I have experience using in therapy places and treatment centers where somebody's having an anxiety attack and you take a cold pack, you pop it, and you give it to them to put on the back of their neck to hold, to play with, to handle, because that's going to help bring them back to that present moment and lower that anxious response, right? The way that we apply this to our performance state is picking a stimulus, and then using that to help bring us back to that present moment. A very common one that I've heard in meditation, and I recommend it as well, is looking at your hands, right? And Corey knows this well, is looking at your hands, gripping, and especially once you have gloves on, like the leather, the feel, just working your gloves in your hands is a way to help bring you back to that present moment, right? And this leads into one of our next videos. We're going to talk about cues and triggers and stuff too, is using this grounding technique, not just to help calm you down and bring you back to the present moment, but also to help with performance as well.
Grounding is money. Like grounding is incredibly helpful. I know what it feels like to be in the back and be a little bit panicked. Like, oh my God, like I'm going to get knocked out. Oh my God, there's a lot of people out there, because you're in a room, you're in a tiny room, you're warming up, and that can really mess with you. It can really it can get your mind really somewhere where you don't want to be going into a fight, in a sense, you know, depending on who you are. But I have found that grounding, that's actually the one that I used with Elias, is it's like, hey, Elias, like, let's go through your 5 senses. This is one that I actually used to do at a treatment facility too. I used to work at a residential treatment facility too, dealing with, you know, kids that came from some type of abuse, but they would have these big, giant, you know, behavioral outbursts. And there's no talking them down. There's no rationalizing with that. Just like how when you're in the back, there's not a lot of rationalizing with that voice of, hey, you're about to go get knocked out. There's no being like, no, I'm not, you know, like, I'll show you. There isn't any of that when you're in that high state of arousal. What I did with Elias, and one that I think you showed me a really long time ago, or I learned at the treatment facility, I forget, but okay, what's one thing that you can smell? What's one thing that you can see? What's one thing that you're feeling? What's one thing that you can hear? And what's the other senses? Yeah, what's the last one? Oh, and then what's one thing that you can taste if you want to taste that disgusting mouthpiece in your mouth? Right. So, but I do remember that's like an incredibly helpful way just to bring yourself back to yourself and not the future, focusing on the future, and it's a really, really helpful. Both of them are incredibly helpful practices.
Yeah, and just that's really important that Corey mentioned all 5 of those senses here, because we're going to use that actually later when we go to talk about visualization as well.
Great. So we have our breathing exercises, our in and more of an out. So our 4 seconds in, our 6 seconds out, and then our 6 seconds in and our 4 seconds out. what they do, and then our grounding techniques, just trying to get yourself back into your body, get yourself back into your environment so that you can stop having those ruminating thoughts on things that you don't want to have happen. So let's get into the next video. Take a week, kind of practice this. You could do this really at any time. And you might find out that your nose doesn't work well at all, like how I kind of started to experience, is that I can't smell anything. So I only have 4 senses. Practice for a week. We'll see you guys in a bit. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, guys. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Comment below whatever you guys want to see next. Maybe we'll do a part 2 to the series. Also, make sure that you guys are checking out CoreySandhagenMMA.com for the full instructional. They are badass. I know that you're going to, find some good out of them, get some information, some digestible, some, really helpful information from the instructionals. Make sure that you guys are checking those out. CoreySandhagenMMA.com. Like and subscribe again. Peace. Love you guys. Later.